Hey, what's up? I'm Josh. Welcome to the full review of the Meze Elites. Quick disclosures, Meze sent this out for review. They are not paying, asking, or otherwise influencing me to say anything good or bad. All thoughts and opinions, like always, are my own. Later in this week, I'll be doing a full review of the Odyssey LCD5. I'll also be doing a comparison video between the Meze Elites, the LCD5, and the Diana TC. And I'm going to be also posting a Q&A about high-end headphones. So if you have any questions about high-end headphones, leave them in the comment section of this video, the LCD5 video, or the Diana TC LCD5 and Elite comparison video. Now, I know that these are very high-end products. I know that not everybody enjoys the super high-end realm videos. Now, to be quite honest, I find these high-end videos kind of stressful to do for some reason. Like they're a price point that I am not personally purchasing at. They are a price point that 99% of the people who watch this channel are not purchasing at. They're entertaining to look at from an outsider's perspective of that price realm, but in terms of being useful to the majority of people, I do think that these high-end headphone videos do fall a little bit short. So as of next week, we will be taking a look at some budget equipment, and we'll be sticking with budget equipment for a while that's not super high-end. So if you have any questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll be addressing those later in the week. I think the first video that we're going to be looking at next week will be the Critical IEM. I'm pretty excited for that video, and I think you should be too. Subscribe if you're not already. So the build of the Elites. I covered this pretty extensively in the first impressions. It's one of the best built headphones even at this price range. It has a very good mix of quality, material choices, and usability for comfort. It's actually a very comfortable headphone. It's not just built with high-end materials, and it's not just built with bad materials, but high comfort. It's got this good blend of everything. Now, a couple points of comparison. Again, something like a Susvara, I feel like the build quality and production of this headphone was of a higher standard than the Susvara. Now, I like this build more than something like the LCD5. I like it more than something like the Focal Utopia, and those go back and forth for comfort. Both are pretty comfortable though. It is notable that this headphone does come with two sets of pads. It comes with a pair of Alcantara pads and a pair of hybrid leather pads, and they both come with it. I think this should be an absolute standard for a high-end headphone of this caliber and price range. Unfortunately, it's not. Other companies, you should be taking notes. These are pressure fit, and it feels lightly magnetic. It might just be the grill in here interacting with the driver on the headphone. These two pads, of course, affect the sound signature quite a lot. The Alcantara being warmer tonally, smoother through the treble, and a little slower in the vocals. And of course, the hybrids being kind of the more standard sound option. It's notable that the pads are different sizes, the Alcantara being quite a bit thicker than the hybrid pads. Now, when you have two pads of this quality and significantly different but still good sound signatures, there's actually a lot of benefit to be had here, because it's almost like you get two headphones for the price of one. And then you of course have the Recaro driver, which is their famous isodynamic hybrid array driver, which has this neat kind of switchback / spirally trace and this very strange magnet structure. So I mentioned in the first impressions that this is not the most detailed headphone for the money. And I still think that is the case, but I still want to talk about how the details manifest on this headphone, because it is a very detailed headphone. To consider it not a detailed headphone, I think would be wrong. It's just maybe not the most detailed headphone for the cost, but detail, as we know, is not the whole story with anything. So in the detail realm specifically, you get a more present kind of treble response from something like the hybrid pads, whereas the Alcantara are a little bit smoothed off in that upper treble response. But I think that the tuning of this is really what makes up the detail differences here. I think this driver is seemingly incredibly capable of detail, especially with some EQ adjustments. You can really extract a lot of information out of this headphone, but stock tuning itself is a little bit on the darker end on the top of the treble. It seems to be a little bit reduced in that region compared to, I think, what I would personally look for. You can really tell how detailed this headphone is by looking at some other areas though, like bass response and mid-range being incredibly fast sounding. They still have their unique tuning properties, but the speed of them tells me that this is still a very detailed headphone. But with other headphones like the Diana TC, you are gonna get a lot more top-end information, which is gonna kind of finish off the details of every type of instrument, every type of vocalist. It's really going to complete the picture detail-wise. Now, if you're looking into a headphone for its bass quality and you're looking at the high-end realm, I do think that the Elites should be a consideration. Now, the way that they handle bass, I think, is very admirable. The headphone overall has a warmer, smoother tilt, so it does have a very good, but natural amount of bass response. And that's going to be the key, is like it seems to focus on quality more than quantity in this area. And I do find that to be quite good, though you do get two different bass takes on the different pads. So the Alcantara are going to be a little bit more mid-bass forward. They sound bassier, but they're also looser. Whereas the hybrid pads tend to tighten that up. You get a little bit more detail, a little bit less of that mid-bass bloom than you get with the Alcantara pads. And it seems to be a little bit more even through that mid-bass to sub-bass area with a smoother transition than this has. This is a little bit more on the rounded side. Now, speaking of the Alcantara pads, when you're listening to mid-range, I love these things. I love them so much. Are they technically perfect? No. They're very warm, but they're just so engaging. But these can highlight the soul of a voice and have this amazing ability to provide a very, one, natural, but two, just full presence to a voice. They feel very fulfilled in the sense of power that a lot of vocalists have. Now, the hybrid pads, I think, are actually a little bit less enjoyable. They're less good, I think. They are a little bit less powerful in the lower mids and a little bit even borderline shouty on the upper mids, and they kind of come across a little bit too energetic without enough fulfillment on the lower end before you hit sort of those bass regions. So yeah, for mid-range, I really like the Alcantara pads. Now, treble response. I do think that this is the weakest component of this headphone, and with some slight, not even major, but some slight tuning adjustments, I do think that this could be very competitive for other headphones in this price category. And I think the treble response is the thing that's holding it back the most. This is a little bit tricky because I think that the people who would enjoy this headphone, you don't want to go overboard with the treble differences, because then you sort of lose the intended sound of this headphone. But there are a couple areas specifically that I think I would tweak that I do think would be general improvements without changing the kind of general property of the headphone. And specifically, this happens with metallics. Now, this is something that you won't pick up on some genres, but you will definitely pick up on others. There is a very apparent lack of any sort of metallic shine or sheen or shimmer or glitteriness to the top end. It just doesn't sparkle like some other headphones can. And so you have entire genres of music that end up hitting with a lot of authority down low, but don't finish it on the upper notes. Anything acoustic with string instruments or metallic instruments, just a classic audiophile example, I guess, if you listen to Long After You're Gone by Chris Jones, that song just really doesn't finish on the top end like it should, and like a lot of high-end users, I think, are looking for. Now, I don't want to gripe on that too much, but I do want to draw a line and say that, like, if you were looking for that type of finish to your music, I don't think this is the headphone that provides it. What it does provide is a very smooth, enjoyable, engaging sound that has a very non-fatiguing style of delivery. And I actually think that is equally valuable to having a super detailed headphone. It's just for two different types of customers and two different types of listeners. Now, sound staging and imaging, I think, are properties that go into it being a more naturalistic sound. The sound staging delivery and the imaging specificity does really play into that natural sound. Things feel like they have a really solidified position, but without being too artificial and without having any weird dead spots when you're listening to a general field, when you're listening to movies or, you know, playing video games or just listening to really soundstage heavy music. This thing seems to deliver really good sound staging and really good imaging on most things. Now, the conclusion here is very simple. It's an engaging, lively, warmer sound signature with very good build quality and excellent comfort. And that's kind of this thing wrapped up in a nutshell. That's what you should expect with this thing. So those are my thoughts. That's the full review of the Meze Elites. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.